other observation that we've made here, when you're establishing the pasture, the general recommendation has been that you add ryegrass to the mix of more difficult to establish, in other words, cocksfoot, fescue, and your clovers. But from our experience has been ryegrass germinates very readily and easily chokes out those others.
Yes.
So, I've been advising, and I'm sure that you would endorse that, is that establish the difficult to, begin it with the establishment with the difficult to germinate seeds, the cocksfoot and fescue.
Yeah.
And the ryegrass you can literally put on top of the pasture and it'll germinate by itself.
Yes, it'll work its way through anything.
So you have
probably you could even put the clovers in first if you chose.
That's right. Yeah. Your clovers also are more finicky. They don't take kindly unless you have an exceptionally efficient watering system.
Yes.
Just another observation, in the initial establishment of the pasture, it's crucial to ensure that the amount of water you're applying is very a small amount initially, but regularly, to get that rooting to take place. And always keep in mind the rooting depth of the seed that you've just planted, because only later can you extend that or increase the amount of water. So very often in our experience it's been that people over-irrigate in that initial phase and under-irrigate in the mature phase. And therefore it's important to look at other tools, for example, tensiometers, which can determine...
Even the little far-infrared temperature gun that I suggest.
There's the aspect of the infrared temperature gun, which the cost is nominal.
Yes.
It's another discussion that we need to make for those who are interested in that, in that area. There are also other tools that are very valuable, the pH tester, the refractometer to ensure that the Brix levels are correct.
So it would have been nice if we brought a refractometer out, but we'll do that a little later.
And the other just final tip to summarize it, because the energy value or the pasture is worth more in the late afternoon, it's always wise to do your maximum utilization. So what we do in this case, we'll move the electric fence once maybe in the early morning, allow the animals to go and get their supplementation, because to balance the pasture, maybe if there's an energy deficiency or a mineral deficiency, and then move the fence 2 or 3 times after the middle of the day.
Okay.
Because then your energy content of your pasture is at its maximum.
Yes, and the same thing applies to cutting hay. You're always going to be better to cut late afternoon when you've actually pumped all the maximum sugars and so forth into the plant before they start translocating down below.
Yeah, and the potential is huge. I mean, for most folk, and I think we understood that was, if you have good oxygenated soils, you balance your nutrients and the soils are alive, your potential to double is actually, that doesn't need very much, but it can be significantly more.
Yes, for certain.
Yeah.
So will you cut this for hay before you graze next time?
We'll have a look at what our needs are, depending on what animals we need to.
All those little calves.
We were looking at taking all the little calves under 200 kilograms and then strip grazing them here to add value to them.
Yeah,
because they're still very efficient in terms of their feed conversion.
Yeah.
I mean, we're looking at...
That would make sense, wouldn't it?
3 to 1,
love
4 to 1.
I'd absolutely love it. So maybe it's worth... When would you do that?
No, we'll be weighing tomorrow.
Okay, yeah.
And then we'll start strip grazing.
Okay.
Yeah. So if we summarize what we've just spoken about, the first thing that we would do is determine if there's any layer that is a compacted layer by using a penetrometer, which is crucial. Once you determine that is a problem, the pasture mix can be also adapted, and bringing in a root, particularly a radish, which then can break it naturally, rather than going in with mechanical tools. The other thing is to look at all the legumes and to ensure that there's active nodulation. In other words, to take up the plant and see that the little nodules are pink in colour.
And see that they're even, in this case, they weren't even present.
They weren't even present.
But if they are present, if you've got you should have a bunch of little nodules under each plant. Then you squeeze those nodules and you want to see this pinkish red colour. And if you haven't got the pinkish red, usually it's actually boron or molybdenum. It's linked to those two. And they determine whether or not the plant can actually do what it's supposed to be doing in terms of fixing nitrogen. It's not just limited to the legumes, of course. That's half of the story. There's also this huge range of organisms headed by an organism called azotobacter, which are called free-living nitrogen-fixing bacteria, and they need cobalt, molybdenum, and sulfur as well. So it's sort of you're going to fire up that whole system to deliver free nitrogen if we can provide those essentials that are required to enable that process to happen.